Okay guys, let's go ahead and get into the stock market technical analysis. I'm going to get this video out today. So just a couple things I want to point out. Obviously the market's moving against our short positions today, but again, yesterday it was moving down. So I want to just kind of point out what I think the market's doing right now. We'll look at these charts and I'll go ahead and wrap up. Triple Qs, guys. So, all right, on triple Qs, we had this resistance level. It's about 317.50. Starting to kind of break out a little bit right here out of that level. We'll see how far this goes today and see if this has any kind of legs to it. There's also this potential downtrend line right here. I don't really have a clean downtrend line because I only have two data points, 1 and 2. So don't exactly know where that's going to come into play, if at all. So don't take that downtrend line as any kind of real consistent trend line, but there is a potential there. If I get rid of the trend line, this is kind of what we look like right now. Now again, the market's been plagued with choppy price action all week long. Yesterday we were down, gapping below, or moving below that kind of support level, just to be met with a gap up and a just pretty strong ramp up so far today. So it's hard to say if we're going to continue to break out. I don't think so, and I'll show you guys why. But at the end of the day, obviously price action's been very choppy really all week. I mean, you can see here, look, we moved down, ramped up, gap down, moved up, all right? Kind of grinding around, moved down, moved up, all right? So we're chopping around. There's no guarantees that this little move right here is going to just continue to stick and we're going to continue to break out. Now, yes, the price action does seem strong today, at least in triple Q. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm not I'm not going to continue to stick with my shorts if we continue to move higher, but I still have an argument to be made that that there's really no change here today. And so here's what I want to show you guys. Let's look at the futures real quick. On the futures, NASDAQ futures, look what's going on. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we've been in this area where we're at really right now twice or really 3 times this week. So in general, you can see, look, break down, ramp up, break down, ramp up, break down, ramp up, break down, ramp up. We're chopping around. So we're at the top end of the range right now, and pretty impulsive buying really all day, but no indication that there's any change in my outlook. You can see here resistance. I mean, look, the other day we were way up here. All right, and the sellers stepped in. So yeah, as of right now, it looks strong. Doesn't mean the sellers aren't going to step in. And again, we were at pretty much at the same level right here just the other day as well. So we've been in this area all week long, and then that's the top end of the range, and then the bottom end of the range is down here. And there's really no definitive move or breakout that we can say, okay, this looks like a confirmed breakout. I can't say that as of yet. So not really willing to throw in my shorts, yet. And we're going to go ahead and stick with those. Let me show you the other thing. When I look at the FAANG stocks, all right, obviously these are the big components of the triple Qs. Here's Amazon, all right, they're ramping it today right into resistance. Nothing's changed, all right. So again, we have this island reversal top here. We hit resistance once already, broke down. Buyers are stepping back in. No, there's no breakout. We're still running right into resistance. There's no break above resistance. So until I see change there, that's something to look at. Google's kind of the one that's just still relatively strong, only because I don't have confirmed negative divergence. You can see today they're kind of bouncing off. We just don't have that confirmed negative divergence in Google, and it is above its trend line. If I show you guys that right there, downtrend line there, and we're above it. So yeah, that one's probably one of the stronger looking ones. Apple, all right, look what's going on here on Apple. All right, we have a support line right here. This is the daily chart, support, support, support. We hit support yesterday at the close. The buyer stepped in. That's it. That's really all that's going on. The buyer stepped in at support. Big resistance just overhead, all right, the resistance. If I just kind of zoom out, there it is, just overhead. Hit it, and what's going on? We're ramping right into resistance. There's no change. We're just chopping around. I mean, in general, you got to give things a little room. It's funny because yesterday the price action moved down. Everybody came out in my YouTube channel saying, "Oh, you're right. You got the trade right." And I wasn't, I didn't really go around saying, "Guys, I got this one right. We nailed it." Because again, I knew that Apple closed right at support. I knew that the triple Qs and the futures pretty much closed right at support near the close. There was no definitive change in the technicals, so we're just chopping around. And again, today, Apple ramping it up into resistance, but that's it. It's a one-day rally back into resistance. There's no breakouts. There's no technical change. The biggest technical change that I can really find this week so far, besides just the back and forth price action, the biggest technical change, at least in Apple, would be the confirmed negative divergence. All right, it's right there. So that's the biggest technical change that I can really pick out of the charts. But everything else, the back and forth and price action is just noise. All right, and so not looking to really just exit a position. That's the thing. If I let price dictate what I'm going to do, just completely just based on price, and I completely ignore the other technical indicators that have worked in the past, then yesterday I would have shorted. I would have shorted maybe at the end of the day after the price action had sold off. Today I would have covered my shorts and gone long. You just get whipped to pieces. All right. So in general, gonna stick with the trade, the short trade. Apple's probably gonna ramp up and hit this resistance line. Looks to me like it's like the algos are just an auto buy today. So I don't know. I can easily see Apple just kind of creeping up here towards the end of the day, 165-ish. Actually, it's around 166.30 or so would be the area of major resistance. So that's all that I have there on Apple. Meta, no technical change on this one. This one just continues to kind of grind higher in this bearish rising wedge with negative divergence. All right, so this is likely going to break down. We don't know when, but likely. And then Microsoft, again, what's changed over the last really 2 weeks? We've got 2 weeks of price action right here, and in general, no technical change. We're just kind of hanging out up here above this support area, but we're not really moving up. We're not moving down. We're just grinding around, and there's no change from today than there was from yesterday. The biggest technical change that I have, again, comes to this negative divergence here on the daily chart. All right, there's a negative divergence and the confirmed bearish PPO crossover. That's the biggest technical change. So from my perspective, this price action over this last week looks like distribution. Okay, it looks like large institutions are leaving or exiting their large bullish positions in large cap tech, and they can't do that in a single day. They're not going to be dumping their positions on a crash. All right, they're going to exit their large positions with this choppy price action right here. All right, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like so far. So again, no technical change in Microsoft. And then obviously we covered Google. And then let's look at Nvidia. That's another one. Nvidia, what's the difference between today and the last week? All right, there's no technical change here on the price. You've got a bearish rising wedge. You've got a breakdown, and they're just floating. All right, that's it. The biggest, we got the negative crossover right here. That really came last week, so no technical change on this one today. Tesla also makes up a decent size of the triple Qs in the tech sector. And again, right now the resistance level that I have is about 186.70. You can see we kind of hit it there. We gapped above it yesterday, but they sold it off, and today just running in there. There's no technical change, guys, all week long. Okay, we're just chopping around, and that's it. So again, I don't get bearish on, I don't get extremely bearish when I go back to the triple Qs on the hourly chart. Just because we sold off yesterday like that doesn't change my, we didn't break a big support in any meaningful way. So that's why I never put out anything to the private member group saying, guys, that's it. We broke down. It's a big sell signal. Never did that. I did say, okay, we're below here, but I didn't have a lot of confidence that was going to be a confirmed breakdown because it kind of just creeped down there towards the end of the day. And same with today's price action. It's kind of creeping above here, just grinding above. It's not very impulsive. It's just kind of, it looks like short covering really. So again, that's just what I want to reiterate. We're chopping around. All right. I'm not bullish on these days. I'm bearish on these days. I'm bullish on these days. I'm bearish on these days. I'm bullish on these days. All right. you get chopped to death. So what I'm realizing, obviously, you know, I've got certain people on my channel that love to troll me. They're obviously bulls, and that's fine. Be bullish. I didn't hear from them yesterday, and the reason why is because the market was down. So they clearly only follow price action. And today they're, you know, beating their chest, and we'll see. You know, I don't think there's any guarantees that we're going to continue to break out. Maybe we go like that. And again, I won't hear from them that if we do that. So going back to the daily, we'll see. I mean, I just don't see enough to really make me want to change anything from today. I mean, all week long, I haven't seen any real reason to change positions or get out of my short. So going to stick with those for now. Okay, individual trade ideas. I haven't covered these for a while. SMAR, still short on this one. Again, no change this week. Really just kind of floating. There's no technical breakout. We are, you know, you have this bearish rising wedge here. All right, you've got negative divergence. You have continued, you have a bearish PPO crossover that happened right here on the the 23rd, 24th. And that's it. We're just kind of floating this week, guys. There's no indication that we're going to continue to break out and move higher. All right. There's actually more indication that we're, you know, losing momentum. All right. Across the board, I see momentum being lost, although price hasn't started to show it yet. I don't want to wait for price to show the momentum that, you know, I don't want to wait for price to go like that to say, okay, guys, now it's time to short because clearly price is moving down. That doesn't do anybody any good if I tell you to short after price has started to move down. So what I look for is loss of momentum, breaks of trend line patterns, and, you know, rejections off resistance, key levels to pivot off of, and then we just wait for the price to show up. We wait for the price action to show up. You know, if this starts to go like that, which is what I think SMAR is going to do, we're profitable, we're making money, whereas everybody else will be chasing and taking on a lot more risk, because if you chase a move after it happens, they can reverse that move, and they often do, at least push it against you. And, you know, you get shaken out of trades. I mean, you short here after you're down or whatever, then they ramp it up and you get shaken out, you stop out, then they move it down. That's not the way to trade. Instead, I'd rather look for breaks of trend lines and entries at key levels of resistance. So again, still holding that. GE, this is one I've talked about in the private member group. It is basically, look, you've got a upward channel, you've got negative divergence, you've got a break of trendline support. And where are we going, guys? All right. People get caught up and they just look at the 1 minute chart and they look at their account and say, oh, I'm losing money today. And yesterday, hey, I'm making money. You guys got to have a little bit more patience and step back from the charts a little bit more. All right. If you're just emotional and when things are running up, you're happy, and when things are running down, you're sad, or vice versa, depending on your positioning, and you can't manage your emotions, and you're too heavy in your position. So I don't think there's any change from today as there was for the last week. That's it. Okay, PANW is another one we talked about. Now this one, you know, clearly negative divergence, just kind of looks like it could put in or could put in a new divergent high. You would have to really creep above this 199.78 to do that. Maybe it does that. It will still be a divergent high and a very high likelihood of failing. So we'll see if that actually happens. As of right now, the high today was about 198.65. So could get up there to about 199.70 or so. It's right there. That would be the divergent high. Maybe it's going to do that next week. I don't see really any indication that this is, you know, again, I still like this as a short trade. I think we had an upward trend line. We broke, kind of created a secondary trend line. We broke, back testing, and, you know, I think this is going to start to roll over. The momentum is dropping off a cliff. So it tells me that this price action, although kind of floating up here, is just, you know, it's distribution, and we're going to start to roll over. Semiconductors, this is just the broad semiconductor ETF, SOXX. Again, you've got support on the daily chart right here, support. There's another tag of it. And today we basically opened kind of at support. So the buyer stepped in. We're at support, buy at support, short at resistance, or sell, you know, at resistance. Okay, so that's just this week. That's it. there's just choppy price action. There's no technical change, no breakdowns, but I think it's coming, guys. And again, this negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO tell me that it's coming in the near future. Now, yes, we could rally up and hit this resistance line. Again, I'm not going to try to guess whether we rally up and maybe even put in a new divergent high. I can't tell if that's going to happen. All I can tell is that if you're up there making a divergent high, very high probability that will sell down, and ultimately this trend line is going to break. So it really comes down to when does the trend line break? Where's the break of the trend line? I think it's relatively soon. And I go back to, especially on this one, I go back to the largest weighted stock in this index, which is Nvidia. And you have a bearish rising wedge and you have a break. All right, there's a break. So maybe they elevate this thing and it floats around sideways for a while. That's completely possible. There's a couple ways to correct. All right, you can correct sideways. So maybe we just float sideways and then these divergences kind of get burned through and then boom, off to the races, continues to rally. All right, if I see that, then I'll point it out and we'll exit the positions. But as of right now, we broke trend. We have negative divergence. It's indicating there's a much more higher probability that there's going to be downside. Maybe not today. All right, I don't know about next week. I just know in the near future. I don't know exactly when. And I don't really try to pretend exactly when. Going back to the triple Qs, just to wrap up on this, guys. So again, right here is where I think the top is at. I could be wrong. Right now it's at 3. The top for that on the 31st in triple Qs came, it was about 321-ish, somewhere right in there. We're still below that. And, I do think that's going to hold, but no guarantees. If they do want to ramp it up and put in another high, it will be for sure another divergent high. All right. So it would just probably look something like, you take your RSI and your PPO and you kind of just adjust it like that. And you'd have a new high in price, but a divergent high, which would have a high probability of failing. So that's all we can go off of for right now. I'm going to stick with these positions. I'll let you guys know, obviously, if things start to look, if there's changes in the technical posture, then sure, I'll go ahead and change my tune. And we'll, go ahead and cover these shorts. But for right now, I still have, I've got Apple trading up into resistance. I've got Microsoft just kind of doing the same thing. So that's it. I'm going to get the video out, wrap it up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.